in terms of change? What's
لا
the
مش
first
عايزه
thing
ادخل
that
يوتيوب، انا عايزه العب فورتنايت.
يا عيني يا ابني.
as it's a full system in this country and not
اما تخش على
three-fifths.
يوتيوب.
the world is now seeing what we've known for so long in the culture and in the community?
عشان
The one
اكونت
way that we can
سعودي.
fight is obviously voting. Talk to me about what voting means to you.
I hear people all the time talk about one vote doesn't matter and that voting doesn't make a difference. If that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because they understand the power of the vote. And so it's time that black people collectively also understand the power of their vote. And not just on the national level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation every 4 years. People need to
اتنين
be
بيتفرجوا على الستريم.
and who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that affect you. And you need to use
مين
your
اللي
vote
باتنين اللي بيتفرجوا على الستريم دول؟
on your condition or to
لا
elect
مش
people
هتعرف
who
تخش
do.
تاني. 3 بيتفرجوا على الستريم. هوبا سكالوبا هوبا موبا.
Ellen, right? If you've been
يا رب دي انت لعبه قرف.
you're no longer on probation
event
or parole, you
ده ايفنت بارتي رويال.
my attention is an initiative called Orange, which is happening now in the country. If you're in jail currently during pre-trial, but you have
DA
not been
fake.
convicted,
لا مش فيك مش فيك اهو يا ابني انا بلعب اهو.
you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're trying to say today about black voting is, what type of image to understand and see when they go to these polls and they cast their votes?
I think the image, and for decades in this country, if not centuries in this country, we've seen black people oppressed. We've seen black people attacked. So every time you look back and you see those old black and white images of people of color being attacked by dogs and people of color being sprayed with hoses, that's what they were fighting for. Back then, they were just fighting for a chance to vote. People like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X, these people died to help us be in a position to have the power that we have now, which is to be able to cast a vote and make a decision about the people that have control over our lives. So, I mean, if you in your own community need a reason to vote, look at a person like George Floyd. If the people in your city are not open to police reform, are not open to issues concerning economic equality, judicial equality, and racial equality, right? If they're scared to say Black Lives Matter, you have the power to put people in those positions who do believe that Black Lives Matter, who do believe in racial equality, economic equality, judicial equality, right? Who see us as human beings.
أنس.
And if the people in your community don't feel
هو
that way,
يا معلش بس يعني ايه بلاك لايفز ماتر؟
just vote them out. We don't have enough time to sit around and hope that people
يعني
change
ايه
their
بلاك
mind.
لايفز
Yeah,
ماتر؟
but you point out something so important.
The
We have
Arabs.
the power,
لا ما
and
اعرف.
that is in our vote, and that is with our voice, and that's how we use our voice. People say
أنت
this is
فين
a
أصلاً؟
particular moment, but it is a movement, not just a moment, it is a movement. Why, in your opinion,
رايح
ده كان
أوقف.
مصري عشان
George
واحد
Floyd's
ابيض
death
قتل واحد
was
اسود
that the chosen
عملوا
brutality
خناقه.
for people to say, oh my God, black people are still oppressed in this country, and it is not fair.
I think it's twofold. There simply is no proof of what happened in the interaction. And so what happens is in a court of law, it tends to lean towards the policeman's point of view, right? In this case, we saw very clearly what happened. I think the other thing is everyone was at home, basically, during this time period in relation
أنس
to
أنت فين؟
coronavirus. You couldn't avoid it. Right? It was on every television station. It was on every social
إيه
media
ده؟
platform. Everywhere you turn, you were constantly hit upside the head with this message. You see in the interaction that this man did nothing to this.
الراجل واقف قدامي مش شايف.
That's right. Like so well said, because if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't worth it, and he didn't have to lose his life.
واد الرخم ده. أنس تعالى.
You touched on something that a lot of people talk about, and that is now defunding the police. That has been such a huge conversation, but there's so many misconceptions around defunding and dismantling.
أنا الناحية التانية تعالى. أيوه.
All right, so most people when they hear tend to think of, oh, they're going to take away our police department. Nothing could be further from the point. Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even in Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget, right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If in certain communities with a higher crime rate. Well, higher crime rates tend to happen in communities where there's not employment opportunities, right? There's not a lot of social services, and people are going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. If the community has more opportunities for employment, more opportunities for upward mobility, then they tend to be less strained on the government. They tend to have a lower crime rate.
يعني الناس دي بيتكلموا في اي هبل. انا فاهم، بس انا اصلا بكره حاجه اسمها بلاك زفت ماتر. انا ماليش اي 60 دعوه.
انا عايز اجيب الليمون بس.
انا عايز اجيب الراب واخلص.
الايه؟
لا
الراب ولا ايموت؟
لا طلعت راب في الاخر.
They're angry, they're concerned, and they want information and they want action. And so we want to make sure that we give them the right information and lead them in the right direction. And we thank the
الفكرة
people
بتاعتها
that do not
أثرني أوي.
look like us for standing with us right now, because it's very important that people who aren't black be involved, because if black people could have gotten rid of this, we would have done
ثانية واحدة
it
عشان
years
بتاعتها
ago.
أثرني.
And so I'm trying to use my voice and my
احنا
voice
بلاك.
just to let people know that if they
أيوة،
feel
ما أنا
like
وأنت
I
black
do,
بقى.
there's a number of places they can go to enact
حد
change.
يسمع الكلام ده؟
People need to know about how the
قصدي
city
السكن.
council runs. They need to know that they have
لا
the
احنا مش
ability
بلاك.
to speak when city council meets, to let them know that that's not the way that they feel their city needs to
بالظبط.
be run. Those are not the places that they feel the money of their community needs to be allocated.
And Bubby, even a step further, they can run for office in their local
يا عم أنا شايف
community. They can
الحمى
run
بتاعت
for
مالك.
somebody else. If you're upset, it's not hard to get on the school board. It's not hard to be part of the city council. It really isn't. And mayor, it's the power is with the people.
فين التكلتيه ولا ايه؟ واكلت الواد ولا ايه؟ اه لا.
You know, if you look at
لا
Sabrina Fulton, right?
مين سابرينا فولتون ده؟
طب لا هم عندهم الصبح، احنا عندنا الساعة 2 بالليل صح؟
So what did she do? She ran for city council and
ايه
she
ده؟
was elected city council. Barack
احنا
Obama,
قاعدين
right?
نتفرج
Started in the
الساعة 2
community
بالليل،
as an activist.
جايبيننا نسمع
ran for
كلام
elected
احنا مالناش
position,
اي دعوة بيه.
senator,
مش انا اللي
ran for
قتلت
another
الانسان،
elected
انا مش عارف
position, became
عايزين
president
ايه.
of the United States.
على فكرة ما الكلام ده يأثر على فكرة.
You know what I'm saying? You don't need a lot of money. You don't need
اسمع
a lot
وانت
of
هتتأثر
power.
والله.
Your voice is enough
افهم
to make
هم
a
انت
difference.
يعني
هتتأثر.
انا وحياة ربنا فاهم وبكره عشان ما بحبش حاجة اسمها كده. ما بكره لا
الواد ده شكله مخيف اقسم بالله.
لو جالي بالليل
I'm good. I'm good. I have a very strong relationship with God, so prayer definitely works for me. I have children and grandchildren who are watching me, who are encouraged by what I do, and they're proud of me right now, you know, and that's really what matters, you know. The change starts at home, you know, so as long as you have a support system that believes in what you're doing, supports you in what you're doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of
وانا
people here
اقسم
to
بالله.
help you. You can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are many different places that will encourage you, inform you, and they will put you
نكسر
in groups of
اصوات
people
الوركس
that
دلوقتي.
feel like you that are ready to take action. So no one has to go about this alone if they want to do it.
ايه ده؟ انا عملت مارك على
We're stronger together. People have been saying it, but that
انا بص انا بعمل مارك على ايه؟
Bumby, it has been an education. It is a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Keep fighting.
Keep up the good fight.
اعوذ بالله مش تنجيم. ارجع يا ابني ارجع. ستوب يا ابني ستوب.
اعوذ بالله اعوذ بالله.
انتي
So our next guest.
اعوذ بالله. انتي ايه؟ انتي شبه خنفسة.
So imperative that we
مش
speak.
فاهم.
You know
هو احنا بنتفرج على بنت، ما تيجي نروح نلعب.
successful show and secure HBO's
يلا يا عم.
جت الفكرة. تعال نقرب تعال نقرب تعال نقرب. قرب على الاخر.
amazing podcast.
تعال نقعد على الزيب لاين احنا نسينا.
بص يا ابني الله الله.
Making things funny, giving us our
اعوذ بالله.
تعال عندي تعال عندي.
bring all of that
انت فين اصلا؟
to your space. And
انا هو
right
عامل
now,
علامة.
as you look across this country and how
مستعيد.
everyone is so
اه.
broken and so upset if it's not social
البنت دي شكلها زبالة.
depression,
أهو.
the list goes on and on.
يا ابني بص شوف من ورا.
قشطة.
You know,
قشطة.
I'm rediscovering self. in a way that that is hard.
لا بس الكواليتي وحشة أوي من ورا.
That will lead to ultimate
اه
joy.
ولا
I know
وهي
it sounds
يعني
يا الكواليتي دي.
I think
يا
I personally
كواليتي هنا
think they
زبالة
should
برضه.
put all of us on a global timeout.
لا هم عندهم مش عندنا، هو
America
عندهم
has
البتاع
done
دي
it, you know,
اكتر.
other people when it comes to timeouts, because everyone else is out playing at recess, and we're still in the principal's office hoping and wishing we could come
بقول لك
out.
ايه، انا تعالى ورايا، انا عندي مكان محدش يعرفه.
Into the timeout
فين؟
and really learn
انا مش
the
هاممني
lessons
الكلام،
we're
بس
supposed to
هاممني ان
learn
انا
from this.
اقعد الاقي
I think
امثله
we
سريه
learn
والعب
better.
وخلاص.
We'll learn how to play well with others in more ways than one.
طب انا
And
وقفت
so
فوق النور ده
personally,
ليه؟
for me, I'm taking this time
ولا حاجه.
to learn me in a
خليك
way
هنا
that I
بقى.
feel like I'm being
واعمل
pushed
فوكس.
into this season, and
هتلاقي احسن فيو.
sometimes the busy
اي اقسم بالله من جنبك هنا
confounds
هي مش
the
قافله
work
تشكي.
that we're supposed to actually be doing. You know, we're busy doing.
بقول لك ايه، جاهز انا هعمل ايه؟
that we need to do on the inside, and I'm leaning into it. Dang, I thought I was gonna be able to rest like everybody else. And these guys like, nah, we got one.
ايه الضحكة؟ اعوذ بالله، دي ضحكة مريم دي.
بص انا معلم على ايه؟ بص
بس اقفل يا ابني، انا فاتح ستريم الله ياخدك. بس يا انس شيلها، انا فاتح ستريم.
يقول لك انا معلم على حاجه. يا ابني بص الباك جراوند ازاي بيتها كده؟ بيتها مليان شجر.
يا ابني ده ديكور.
العاب؟ انت رايك ان انا ده ولد؟
ولا ايه ده بنت يا ابني، دي فين؟
ده بنت؟
ايوه.
رايك جوانا ايه؟ جوانا قلت لك العب دي لابسه تيشرت، جوانا لابسه جاكيت، هو عايزه ايه؟
ولا اصلا احنا نشوف ايه في القرف ده.
هم لابسين ايربودز هنا متهيألي.
We were going business as usual, but it ain't usual no more.
It ain't good, لاحظ.
Anytime change occurs, it's very uncomfortable. And so right now we're sitting.
انا هدخل اشوف سكين شبهها كده.
We're getting comfortable with the.
وانا كمان. البس سكين بلاك.
That to me explains just the
هدخل
existence for
سكين
women
شبهها.
يلا سكين الاتنين 100 مش الفيد التاني.
نغير لا يا ابني نغير الكالر ونخليه اسود يا زكي.
لا استنى اشوف بس سكين اسود. اذكر لي الكوماندر.
نغير الكالر خليه اسود كده.
انا عايز اشوف بس لقيت سكين بلاك، وشه بلاك. انت البس البروك جانر يا تاكسي.
صح البس البروك جانر.
بدور بس ايوه لقيت.
البس البروك جانر فيها احمر.
بص عليا انا هتلاقيني بلاك.
انا هلبس بلاك ده كده. لا ايه ده، انا لبست نجف صغير قصدي.
ايه ده الايفنت خلص.
احلف.
الشاشة عندي بقت خلاص رجعت. الشاشة عندي بقت سودا.
نفس اللي حصل لي، الحمد لله يا رب، نفس اللي حصل لي. ايه ده، انا زنقني في بتاع اتغير. قال لك الشاشة عندي سودا.
بصي ده ايفنت بلاك لايفز ماتر. والله فورتنايت.
الشاشة عندي سودا.
انا عندي رجع. انت فين اصلا؟ انت فين؟ انت فين؟
ترجع وتروح.
هو انت فين اصلا؟ وريني سكنك.
ورا شغالة. ورا اسود برضه.
يا زكي تعال نلبس انجولا.
ورا شغالة. ها انا شيء.
لا انا عندي شاشة سودا.
عندك شيء. احلف.
هغير سكن ممكن ترجع. انا هلبس ديفولت. يا رب تيجي انجولا. ابا يا عم الشاشة دي هو الايفنت خلص ولا ايه؟
مالك عندي شغال. والله الشيش عندي سودا.
بس رجعت عنه.
بتروح تاني.
بص عندي the power to bring charges against police if police brutality is an issue in your community. You care about your school district. You can run for the school board. I asked this of you, right? Your parents are from Nigeria.
أنا زنقني برضه في البتاعة دي القرف دي. عايزة تعمل الشاشة شغالة؟
اه
You know, I think voting is
أنا
hard.
عندي
I
شاشة
remember,
سودا.
you know, I became a naturalized citizen back
أنا عندي الشاشة مش شغالة.
when
اعمل لي
I
بخش.
was still a minor. My mom naturalized me.
اشتغلت وقفل التاني.
And just having that power of like, we are American citizens.
خش الستريم بتاعي على يوتيوب.
By being citizens,
لا يا عم.
one of those accesses and those access to power being voting. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because
اشتغلت
not only are we
وقفل التاني.
do we have the opportunity to be in this country, but now we can be of the country. We can be of the systems. We can be of the rules. We can be of what.
خلاص كفاية اوف.
Going back to your earlier comment about
خلاص انت فين؟
system. I think we are done a disservice either
انا بص ده انا بص انا اللي ده.
phenomenal job, but for some
فتح الستريم يا عم
we
شايف.
do not, and give them all the reasons. I might, this child of mine, I do love them, but hey, where can I drop them off? And I do think that
أنا هلاقي بابا أصلا تاني.
we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for
شو
the
عندي
president.
الهبل
You don't
اقسم
realize,
بالله.
like, oh snap, we actually can.
شو عندي تلبس كده
How
فجأة.
much our libraries get. It's like little things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like?
It's the system. When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up, and we've normalized. Okay, maybe
انا زهقت.
maybe, you know, you'll be able to get this luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should
بس
be built
هبت.
into the But maybe you'll be able to get
خراسي.
this luxury in order to enable you to go vote.
حطه.
Think about
ما تخرسي.
this.
يا حبيبي يلا بقى خلصوني.
You need to get to work. If something happens to you,
وانت
خبر كل ده ما جبتش حاجة.
انا صوتي بتعرف تتكلم سعودي؟
اه
طب اتكلم سعودي.
عايز اقول ايه؟
اقول لك اي حاجة.
لا انت لازم حد يقول لي تاني.
ايه انا عامل ايه؟
كيف حالك يا حمزة؟ شو اخبارك اليوم؟
ده انت بلاك بقى. انا وانت على فكرة بس اللي بلاك في العيلة.
تقريبا
اه.
وجدت احمد حاتم.
لا ده جده ابيضاني.
خاله
اه خال بابايا يعني. بس كده.
تقريبا
فرح.
لا فرح لا.
فرح لا ايه.
فرح براون.
اه
فرح براون.
مين؟
منها وايت اكيد.
ايه
منها اكيد وايت يعني.
ده كده.
ما اظنش ان حد تاني. مين؟
مش اخويا قال لي امبارح عن المولتن كيك بتاعت عمته وحشه؟
اه
ده اكلها كلها. عارف كانت بايه؟ اوريو من تحت وفوق شوكليت وكريم.
بس يا عم عشان كل ده بلاك يعني وانا شايفهم قدامي اقدر اكلهم بلاك.
We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way.
على فكرة البتاع ده قصرني.
انا كمان شوية.
انا بقيت اشعر. انا والله بقشعر من تيزي. ايه ده بتضحك عليا يعني؟ عمال بقشعر.
To that end, because you led me directly there, I've been asking everyone who's here on this platform, what does activism look like? And I feel like back in the day, we had an idea. Yes, it is marching. Yes, it is protesting. Yes, it is
أعوذ بالله إيه اللي حصل ده؟
انزلي بابا
unjust. But talk to
بابا
me about what activism looks like for Yvonne Richards.
اديهولي او ماما عايزه
The
اوريني.
beauty of activism is that it has many faces, right? You're going to have the people on the front lines. Like, you know what? Martin Luther King marched, but there were a lot of women who were in their homes like, hey, BT Dubs, when they come back, this is how we support all the people who are marching on the front lines. And we're going to be here doing what we know to do best here. And you know what? Somebody needs to bail them out of jail. Y'all was, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a position to play. And so play your position like a shortstop, right? So whoever you are, and whatever you do, play your position. So it could look like, you know what? I'm not the one.
عايزه اوريكم حاجه في الايفنت.
But you know what? My pockets go deep. I'm a comedian. Black joy is a form of activism.
There's always a call for entertainers or celebrities that have the platform to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can
تعجبي كام؟
different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world. How you feel like it even inspires you to say
Look at the zoo.
Beneath the surface of what we do, like Niecy Nash says, it's the who, right? The who is
وبيعمل حاجه ايه؟
like, hey, let me call this either blind racism in terms of overt racism and either of ways that we can be better in terms of we don't even realize
الناس بتتفرج عليهم كمان عم بيطلبوا.
talk to me about the urgency in your opinion for people to our people to get out and vote this coming election.
Yeah, I mean, guys.
حمزة في ناس بتقول رقصة وفي ناس بتقول راب.
هي كده راب يعني.
في ناس بتقول رقصة وفي ناس بتقول راب محدش فاهم. أو في ناس بتقول مفيش حاجة أصلا.
ممكن يكونش في حاجة.
بس خلينا نستمتع وخلاص فاهم.
هو بتاع مش بيستمتع.
20 moving 30 minutes يعني إيه؟
مش عارف.
ده احنا هنعمل فوتنج. قشطة هنعمل فوتنج.
اخوك يعرف يعني ايه فوتنج؟
مالك هنعمل اي حاجة يعني. حمزة انت هتختار ايه؟
كده يعني ايه في ايه اصلا؟
انا مش فاهم. انا بقول لك كده خلاص. انا مش فاهم حاجة.
يا بص هتختار من بلاك لايفز ولا وايت لايفز؟ انا كده هختار بلاك لايفز.
طب يا ابني مفيش وايت لايفز اصلا.
يا عم الناس الابيض بيض.
لا كلهم بيشجعوا السود. حتى البيض بيشجعوا السود.
امال من ايه يعني؟ نختار بنت وبنت يعني؟
immigrant dream, everything. Beautiful. I really mean it. Virgin, ladies and gentlemen, nothing but the best and excellence for Southside. Thank you so much. I love you so much, Mama.
أعوذ بالله.
ايه ده؟
No justice, peace, no peace.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotspots in terms of political unrest.
بيتها جامد.
We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've
صح؟
also seen so much promise in that city, including one of the very own founding fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used his platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us.
قالت فوتنج.
Russ, I'm not gonna fan out.
ده مش بلاك ده. ومين اللي بيقول هنا؟
اطلع برا يا ابني انت رايح روح ميكروباص 3 يا ابني.
يا ابني لو كنت رقصة معايا ايموتي كان في رقصة كده كان بيقول لي اي رقصة بتبين انه لا.
سيمير حاجة كده.
Like it's very obvious I'm white. and I'm in
يلا يا عم
black
روح.
culture, and I'm benefiting financially off of it. So I feel like if you're a white person financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture.
ده الواد ده راجل.
Simple. You know,
اه لا
screenshots
الواد
with your
الواد ده
feelings. It
بيتكلم
just
عن
comes
بلاك
off
يعني
like
هو
fake empathy.
هو وايت
It
بس هو
comes
كلين
off
بلاك
very
فاهم
dismissive and very
راجل
oh,
يلا
that sucks for y'all. But anyway, back to what I was doing.
Have you felt that way always, or is it now because of the time of where we are in this country?
انا اصلا بتأثر، قلبي عمال يدق جامد.
انا كمان عشان كده انا عمال مش عايزه ابص عشان بتنطط الحصان مش عايزه ابص على عشان
It's to the
عشان انا
point
بلاك
now
فاهم
where you
فالدنيا
can't.
غريبه
First of all, you can't not say anything.
الدنيا بالنسبة لنا احنا
Second of all,
مش
I
حلوة.
just think saying something isn't enough anymore. I think, you know, if you
ده
have
في
the
نقف جنب.
ability to put money back
بس
into
تعالوا نقف جنب بعض وخلينا في ايد بعض.
have the ability to, you should.
It's interesting that you
نعمل
talk
فوكس
about it
وخلاص.
because people do believe that silence is the best way to go because it's hard to talk race, especially if you're white and you're in the black culture. People just feel as if they can't talk about it. They feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the voice or the words. How do you find yourself right
يا نهار اسود عم متأثر فشخ.
now? We want to talk to you about social injustice, police brutality. What's been on this?
Picking and choosing whether you want to be silent or not about race, that's a privilege in of itself. But no, I mean, you know, I try to just do my best. Listen to the black people around me and the educated people I have in my life. So I do my best to.
قول لها ده feelings، قول لها ده عن feelings.
Everything,
بيتكلموا بس عن بلاك لايفز
in a culture that I'm not
ما
from.
بيتكلموش حاجه عن
But you know, that's why when we
كل حاجه بلاك
decided
لايفز ماتر
to raise the
بيقولوا حاجات
money,
تانية
قول لها اسمه ايه ده؟
when we raised
قول لها لو انت مش عارفة حاجة خلاص تتكلمي عليها ليه؟
some of the women who started Black Lives Matter. I got on the phone with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my friends to make sure the money went to like the correct places. You know, and people who make sure the money went to. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
Let's talk about that. Just about listening. The way I think of activism, for me, it looks very differently. It's not necessarily just protesting. I think that's great. But what about being an activist? What inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money for Black Lives Matter. What did you do? Walk us through everything that you did and how you find yourself in this moment right now.
So for me, it was 3 years ago. I had like a string of festivals, and I decided that I was going to wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured, what better time to use a platform than in front of a bunch of people. So one of the T-shirts I wore was if you want to change the system, speak up, white silence is pro-racism, the whole thing. And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then. And it didn't really but when all this stuff started happening again, and it's been happening, police brutality against innocent black people, I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most white fans in the world, but I got a good amount of people that I can definitely mobilize and turn into some money, and I know they're down for the cause because it's merch, it's a good thing, and I've always been outspoken anyway, and so how am I going to be in black culture and not be outspoken about racism?
And then I got to ask you this, because you grew up in Atlanta, so that gives you a heads up depending for so many people, because you're in the crux of that beautiful black city where there are so many wonderful black leaders, home of so much great music and things that speak to our culture right now. And we are really, really getting our word out, especially with this platform today, and saying that we must use our voice to vote. Talk to me about what the importance of voting for you is.
Yeah, so full transparency, I had never voted. Yeah, so ever. Full transparency, I had never voted. Because I was one of those people who was like, my vote doesn't matter. I was one of those people. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I was younger. Maybe it's because I really thought that. Or I don't know. But I just think that it's got to. Now this is a bit of a. This is a bit of a. Let's just say it's got to a breaking point for me because it's been past the breaking point. I think that as a whole, the young people need to get out and vote because we're the ones that never show up. You know what I mean? We never show up
Young
to vote,
people.
but we're the future. So it's like, look, we gotta go out there and vote, and then whatever happens, but at least we did our
بس
part.
انا برضه مش هنعرف نفوت على ايه؟ مش هنعرف نفوت على ايه؟
شام انا مش بموت على بنت وبنت، يعني مين هيكسب؟
And there's something beautiful about that. But I want to know why now for you. Why in this
البنت الرخيم، البنت الرخمة دي.
what makes your spirit to say yes, this is
الواد ده بيته جامد، يلا بص ورا. اي
I think that
والباب
George
مفتوح،
Floyd
هو سايب الباب مفتوح. يا شيخ
حرامي
woke up a
حرامي.
lot of people, including myself.
ايه الباب انا؟
I was vocal and outspoken.
ده
سيب
في
البابين.
ده في اوضته ده ولا بره ولا ايه؟
T-shirts, I would talk about it.
ده لو قلت يا نهار ابيض.
You know, I was vocal about it, but that video in that moment, just
بس انت ما
kind of
تنحت كده فجأة.
words are simply not enough anymore. You gotta do something. Words are simply not enough.
ممكن لما بتفرج على ايفنت اصلا.
Voting or all these
لا
things.
بتبقى ايوه
We
بتبقى
gotta do
خلينا
something, and I'm ashamed that it took that for me to be like,
عشان ده ايه يا عم؟ اشرح يا عم.
انت فوت ايه؟
and it just
What I need to
guess it
vote
snapped a
في
bunch of people
ايه؟
out of it, you know.
هتعمل
Even
فوت
if
في
you
ايه؟
weren't vocal
عشان
or
عايز
anything
اعمل.
like that. It's
شام
time
انا
to
امك
actually
ولا
get
امه؟
It's time to go vote. You know, it's time to just stop
طب
talking about
اختك
it.
ولا اخته نعمل لهم
And
فوت
there's been
يعني؟
time for that, but like I said, I'm ashamed that it took me this long to actually really be about it.
فنعمل فوت لملك الكسبان بتاع فورتنايت. طيب
So guys, we all know that this is going to be your first time voting. Tell us that experience is gonna
فوتنج على ايه؟ على ابو شكلك.
فوتنج يا نهار ابيض يا نهار ابيض على الفوتنج يا نهار ابيض.
Something bigger. Because
اسكت
for so
يلا.
long, and I know I'm not alone with this, but standing on the outside and just screaming about this and that and this should change. And it's like, all right, because you
على
voted.
فكرة انا السكين بتاعي بلاك.
And so I'm
فين؟
I know
بص.
it's gonna feel good to know that I played a
بص على وشه.
small role. And that's the problem. I think the mentality of like
اه ملك بكمل بلاك.
انا مش بلاك قوي، لا انا عايز اغير بلاك
albeit
قوي.
small, does matter. It's a role I'm playing, and if I play my part and you play your part and he and she plays their part, then we make a difference. But it'll feel. I have a feeling it's gonna feel very, very bigger than me. I mean, I think when you
انا عايز
realize
انسان
that
وش
giving
بلاك.
actually feels better than receiving, that's when you start wanting to do your part and contribute. So, voting is an easy way to
Ferrari.
give.
Yeah, to whom much is given, much is required, and you've been given a huge platform. We are so grateful for us. Philanthropists, artists, community activists.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
ايه ده؟
برضه ما عنديش سكين بلاك. This is black. This is white. بالعكس.
So cities like Atlanta and Chicago have forefront discussions, especially now in this
الواد اقرع اصلا.
police brutality and what we can do in this country. Again, we're continuing our conversation, letting you know that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. It can change where we are in this country. Currently, I'd like to welcome in Chicago Cubs right fielder Jason Hayward. I appreciate you. I brought in Atlanta.
حمزة it looks
ايه
it looks
Atlanta, more specifically
ايه؟
Donna. Let's be technical.
it looks
Oh.
And you have been very vocal throughout this entire time in terms of what our country's been experiencing. Let's look at the past month and a half, if you will. What has been the hardest thing for you to deal with?
The hardest thing for me to deal with, Carrie, this last month has just been going from
بقول لك انا هنام شويه قبل ما الايفنت ده يخلص.
us being called to action. We've had the
لا حبيبي انا ظريفة.
انا هقفل الستريم وانام.